So it's been a huge month, year, but also week this week for Anne Hathaway because The Devil Wears Prada 2 is finally, what am I going to do with
Big
my
week
life
for
with
us.
this movie? Huge week for us. We went to the premiere of The Devil Wears Prada 2 this week. We can't say anything about it today, but that review, many thoughts on that are coming.
Yes.
So The Devil Wears Prada 2 is out starring Anne Hathaway, of course. It's one of the many movies she has coming out this year. So Mother Mary, where she plays a pop star. The Devil Wears Prada 2, obviously. The Odyssey, Christopher Nolan's new movie, which is going to be an absolutely huge blockbuster, packed with Hollywood talent. She's in that. Flower Vale Street, which is more of a sci-fi mystery. There's got range.
Yeah, she's got range
Anne
to her.
Hathaway's got range.
Yeah.
And also Verity, which is coming out in October, which is a new thriller based on Colleen Hoover's best-selling book of the same name. So the trailer came out this week. It was our first look at, there's been so much hype around this particular adaptation of Colleen Hoover's novel just because it's so beloved. It has such a twisted mystery. And also the casting, because we've got Dakota Johnson playing Lowen Ashley, who is hired by a man called Jeremy Crawford, played by Josh Hartnett. I'm loving the Josh Hartnett comeback in the last couple of years too. Why did he ever go away?
Beautiful
we love that man. And so she's hired by him to ghostwrite novels for his best-selling author wife called Verity, played by Anne Hathaway, because she's an accident, she's unable to finish. And so Dakota Johnson's character moves into the Crawfords' home to work on the book, only to discover that, of course, all is not as it seems. Yep. And there is a mystery with Verity. And the trailer is like really creepy and like atmospheric. And it also has a pretty lovely pash between Dakota Johnson and Anne Hathaway.
Love that they put that in the trailer.
Yeah. They were like, we know exactly what you guys want to see. And here it is at the top of the trailer.
So I haven't read the book. It looks quite dark though, like a horror.
Yeah, like it's like kind of like a horror thriller, kind of like that old school, like a Rebecca type kind of like, you know, mystery of like what's happening in the home kind of thing.
It's interesting seeing what people are already saying in terms of like what they expected. Like some people like, this is way scarier than I thought it would be. Like people interpret it different in their head. So
and it was one of those things where like when the casting was announced that it was Anne Hathaway and Dakota Johnson, people like quite lost their minds over that because they were very kind of like territorial over who would play these characters. So on paper, this should actually be the best year of Anne Hathaway's life professionally.
She's busy.
Because of all these movies coming out, and there's this kind of, it just felt like when she was on the Devil Wears Prada 2 press tour, there was this like intense love and admiration for her. And so on paper, everything is perfect. But of course, there's a bit of a different conversation bubbling around in the background. Do you remember, like, it was nearly 9 years ago now that the Hatha-hate started? Do you remember this dark time in our history?
Where was I in this time?
Yeah, well, hopefully not on the internet because it was not a nice place to be.
I don't think I was part of this movement because I wouldn't want to stand for that slander.
Well, no, exactly. Yeah. So it was a dark time in history where Anne Hathaway had grown up as one of the most beloved actresses because we were introduced to her in The Princess Diaries. Iconic Disney film. Perfection can do no wrong. And then obviously she had other movies like Ella Enchanted. So, you know, a lot of people really grew up with her as their actress, as the person that they would like, you know, people would be like, the first time I went to the movies was to see Ella Enchanted, or like the first time like my friends and I had a sleepover, we watched The Princess Diaries. Like it was that kind of world.
She had a very like soft transition into womanhood as well from that like Disney girl.
And then when she got The Devil Wears Prada, it became a huge iconic movie, and it was a big deal at the time, but not like it kind of became when the movie came out. And she has spoken very openly that she was about 5th on the list of actresses. So like a lot of people had to say no to the role, and she had to go through like a lot of negotiations and auditions to get that role. And then that kind of was her big star making turn because that movie was such a blockbuster. She's so great in it. And then she went on to like have all these other big movies that followed it. It was around the time of when she was starring in Les Mis that she won her first Oscar for. It wasn't her first Oscar nomination, but it was the first time she won. It was during the press one for that people started to really turn against her.
Yeah, right.
And all of a sudden, I mean, the thing is she was campaigning very hard for an Oscar, which is what you have to do to win. No one wins without the campaigning. Even if you step aside and let your team campaign for you, you have to have a campaign. But she was front and center campaigning, and she won a lot of awards leading up to the Oscar, and Les Mis won a lot of awards. And people started to tire of her. They were like, she's a tryhard. She's annoying. She has theatre kid energy. And one of the worst allegations against her was when Les Mis won an award, and as they were wrapping up, she jumped in on the end and thanked someone from her team, like personally, like thanked one of her managers. And there was this huge backlash. And it wasn't until years later that came out that person had been diagnosed with cancer, and she just wanted to give them a shout. But also, even if they hadn't, like,
let her give a shout out.
Yeah, let her give a shout out to someone in her team. And when she won the Oscar, that's also when the tables turned, because she got up on stage and also people hated her dress. And that's neither here nor there. But the story was
Did you like the dress?
I didn't love it, no.
Okay.
I just think it didn't photograph well. But the backstory is it was fine.
It's a fine dress.
It's one of those things. It's just that she's such a red carpet staple glam kind of, and she'd had so many great dresses leading up to the Oscars that I just thought that wasn't the right dress.
Why?
It just photographed strangely because of the darts at the front. It made it look like her boobs were sticking out. And the front. No, you do know the dress I'm talking about?
No.
It was I think it was Prada, which is ironic.
Yeah.
And it was like straight down pale pink column dress. And it was just the way the darts were sitting. Right. It made it look like she had really pointy breasts, which I actually think is quite fun.
Okay.
And then it had a lot of detail at the back, but you couldn't see it. And so the story goes that they were rehearsing for Les Mis because they were doing a musical moment in the Oscars. And Amanda Seyfried, who was also in the movie, showed Anne Hathaway a picture of her dress that she was wearing to the Oscars the next day. And apparently Anne like lost her mind. And I'm assuming just lost her mind and like, oh my God, shit, like what? Because it was nearly identical to her dress.
Oh gosh.
So different designers. Tina's just looking at a picture of the dress now.
The dress is quite average.
Yeah, I mean.
But maybe the back.
I don't know if it was worth destroying a woman's life for 5 years. I'm just going to put that out there.
Yeah, no.
It was fine.
It's just okay.
Yeah. Also, a lot of people wear dresses to the Oscars, like, because it's a very serious thing. So a lot of times people wear a bit more of a kind of, and they want it to look timeless and classic.
And she looks beautiful.
Too.
Like if she was in the room wearing that, I'd be like, phenomenal.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
She looked beautiful, and I think it's fine. But what happened was, yes, the story goes that Amanda Seyfried, and Anne Hathaway's confirmed this happened, but she's never said it was Amanda, but we know.
We know.
We know. Showed her photo, and Anne was like, oh my God, that's nearly identical to my dress. And we're in the same movie, and we're walking the carpet near each other, and we're sitting next to each other. Like, what am I going to do? So apparently she left, and Amanda also left because they were both like, we can't deal with this right now. And so the night before the Oscars, she had to find a new dress.
Right.
And that was the pink column dress.
Okay.
And again, she won. Lovely moment. She's always wanted to win an Oscar. Sorry, that's fine.
That's fine.
The people started hating her because she got up on stage, and it was clearly a rehearsed moment. But she's an actress. What do you want from her? It was clear a rehearsed moment. She got up, and instead of speaking, she took a moment of silence. She looked down at the Oscar, and it's like, and she just stared at it, and then she goes, it came true. As in, like, I wished for this and it came true.
Yeah. Oh.
Again,
it's
that's
still
fine.
Quite cute.
Like, she had I just think people just like
winning an Oscar, just let them do what they want with that moment.
Yeah.
They've already won. Just let them have their 10 seconds.
And I thought that her speech was lovely. It was really heartfelt. She was very overcome, as you would be. And I feel I can speak like this now because, can I say, I've always been on the right side of history. I've defended Anne Hathaway before it was cool.
Yeah.
And then she like spoke about like sex work and like, because her character obviously in the movie, she's like, let Fantine's story kind of be like a reminder to us about this. And like, she'd obviously really thought like, what is this moment about? What is this character about? And what is the bigger issue? So she did all that. And then people were just like, we're so sick of her. We can't stand her. She's a try-hard. And the hard thing is that she kind of, I think, knew the tide was turning a little bit, but it wasn't until she, like a year or so later, when the internet had been hating her for a year or so, and very blatant.
Gosh.
And was that she sat down to Google something about herself, because I think it was she was going to do an SNL sketch, and she wanted to find a headline about herself to kind of like, she had an idea for a joke. She wanted to parody it. So she Googled Anne Hathaway, and she said all that came up, like filled the screen, was like 10 reasons why we hate Anne Hathaway. Here's why everyone decides they've hated Anne Hathaway. Here's the worst thing about Anne Hathaway. And she was like, I'm sorry, what?
God.
Like, yeah, she said it was really of confronting to her to realize how fast spread the hate was. And then she ended up having to do like a magazine cover where she's kissing on it. I think it was Elle, where she's kissing and she's like, let's kiss and make up. And I was like, girl, you have nothing to apologize for.
No. Anne Hathaway, stop apologizing.
Yeah. It's weird that, like, again, we see all these men like do, and I know that's like kind of a untied take that men and women get treated differently, but it's unfortunately very true, is that we see like men get accused of like, they screamed at this woman on set, like Adam Driver threw a chair at Lena Dunham.
Literally,
like, yes.
Why are we not talking about that anymore?
Well, yes, it was part of their like rehearsal and she's not angry at him. But also like
she should be.
You know, and we have all these things of like, you know, men cheating or men doing things or even other actresses sometimes doing worse things. And the worst thing Anne Hathaway did was just love her job work too much.
She's just going to work. We've got Jacob Elordi in a million movies right now. And we're like, keep going.
Exactly. And yes, there are allegations that she was rude and difficult, but we don't have any, like, there's no proof of that I can see.
And also rude or difficult or just at work being professional and asking for what she wants.
But also no one's gone on the record to say that she was difficult to work with. In fact, it came up in a press conference once. I think it was for Interstellar. It came up in a press conference where a journalist is like, what is it like to be known as someone who's really difficult to work with? And Anne's like, she does. And then Jessica Chastain jumps in. She's like, I just want to speak on this, that I've worked with this woman twice now and she's not difficult to work with.
Yeah.
But it's like Barry saying like that part of the story of never took off. Like no one sort of was like, oh, Jessica Chastain defends Anne Hathaway. They were just like, she's the worst.
There are going to be speculations of her just being lovely to work with.
Yeah. And there is that interview that went, you know that moment in time where like all the Blake Lively interviews were coming out around like, oh, she's awful at interviews and you watch just super cut of interviews and it really depends how people edit things a lot of the time and the context around them. But an old interview came up with Anne Hathaway and a journalist. It was for Les Mis and the journalist keeps saying to her, it was the same journalist that Blake Lively was accused of being, you know, the whole like baby bump thing.
Yeah, interesting.
And then they were like, oh, look, like Blake Lively's getting crucified for being rude to this journalist, which she kind of was. That's fair enough. And they were like, and look when this, like Anne Hathaway was also rude to this journalist and this clip went viral. And it was the journalist saying to Anne Hathaway, like, can we sing our responses to each other? And apparently other people in Les Mis did it. And Anne was like, oh, you can do that. I'm not going to do it.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
I don't want to sing.
No, and I actually think that's so fine. Like it's a hard line of like you're in an interview. Sometimes you have to go with the bits. But I also think saying to like maybe going into an interview and saying to someone, especially if like it's on a pre-approved kind of thing, like going into a junket where it's like every 5 minutes you're talking to a new journalist and a journalist coming in and saying like, can we sing our interview? And her being like, no, thank you.
And it's fair enough because then it could go in the wrong way. Yeah. And then that will be the story that spirals out of control. Like you've got to be like thinking a couple steps ahead on what's the output of this going to look like and are people going to hate on me for it?
Yeah, exactly. And it's so interesting. Obviously things like I haven't seen like the full clip of that in terms of like it wasn't released. Like I haven't seen what happened before the camera started rolling the cameras afterwards. So I don't know if she was rude or not. But no one cared about that. It was that isolated clip. And she ended up apologizing to the journalist.
Yeah. And
because I think she was like, oh God, this is going to, you know,
I think the journalist would know as you've asked as well though. Like this could be a yes, this could be a no. Yeah. I'm going to shoot my shot.
I just think it was a moment in time and then everyone's so back on the Anne Hathaway train as they should be.
Yeah.
Like I'm all for celebs being held to account for bad behavior, but I just don't know if there's any bad
being in blockbuster movies
that I've seen from her. There's nothing that I've seen from her that justifies the level of hatred except that she just seems to try really hard and she's really earnest and she has a theatre kid energy.
Which I love.
But I will say like having interviewed her myself personally now,
you guys are friends.
Lovely. She was really lovely. Yeah. And yes, she was very kind of, and I've seen her be like this in other interviews, I think because my questions were a bit more serious, which was fine because that's what I wanted. But she gave me really thoughtful answers and I really appreciated that. But I walked in the room to interview her and Meryl for Devil Wears Prada 2. And there was a bit of a change with the time. And I kind of when I went in the room, I wasn't sure. I thought I was going into, you know how like you go into a junket, you think there's going to be like a holding area first. And then and often there's like a screen and there's all this stuff and the PR person walks around, introduces you, and then they take you in, and then you're like, oh, okay, like now we're starting. Whereas I open the door and it's just Meryl Ann sitting there right in front of me.
Straight away.
And they were just like, oh, hell. And I was the first one, so they were just like, oh, they were still like settling down, putting their waters down. Like Meryl was drinking her water because they'd been doing a full day of press, and I was like, oh, hello. And then I didn't even introduce myself because I was like, oh, I'm and I'm like to the camera, and I talked to the camera person instead of them because I said, are you filming now? Because I don't want to miss my interview.
Yes.
And Anne was like really
my time rolling.
Yeah, you know, it's like high stakes in that room. And Anne was like, oh, sorry, what is your name? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, it's Laura. And she goes, oh, lovely to meet you, Laura. I'm Anne. And this is Meryl.
That's
and
really
I was like,
sweet.
I do know, but like nice to like, she was sort of making sure that we had that moment of like saying each other's names and saying hello. And then I found her really thoughtful And I just watched her because I saw her during that press day. I saw her like do a whole bunch of interviews in the morning and then do all the junkets and then go and do a fan event that night. And I could feel that she was really like, not being cautious, but really trying to make sure that she gave really thoughtful answers and that she was acknowledging people and that she was giving people what they expected of having their moment with Anne Hathaway in a really intense way of someone who knows what it's like when that goes the wrong way. So I really appreciated that.
That's lovely.
And I just think it's kind of like now that I'm seeing like even like so we put up all our Devil Wears Prada clips from the interview that was on the spill, and most of the comments are like lovely and really supportive, but I have this one clip that's got a lot of traction online where I asked her and Meryl, like, because they can't watch The Devil Wears Prada as their favorite comfort movie, what is their version of The Devil Wears Prada? And Anne gave some really lovely answers. One of them was Moonstruck, that she says she watches in bed and with ice cream, which I did over the weekend. I haven't seen Moonstruck for ages, but I watched it and I got some ice cream and I was like, this girl's on something.
You're like, me and Anne, we're the same.
The same chill. But there's also there was also like a bunch of comments under our TikTok video where people are like, look how overly polite she's being to that interviewer. Look how careful she's being. And then other people were like, oh yeah, it's because she's like got in trouble before, and everyone's like, oh, I'm getting so sick of her. And I was like, guys,
none of these are bad things. Sorry, look how she's being too careful.
Yeah, and I can just see that the tide is not turning against her, but I can just see because she has to be so public this year because she's made all these movies and just the way the release schedule has fallen, they're all coming out in one go.
Yeah, even when people are like, you're so busy this year, I'm like, these have been filmed probably over the past like 5 years.
And I just find it really interesting that we're even having this conversation in 2026 about like whether or not the table should turn on Anne Hathaway because she hasn't done anything to deserve that.
No.
And it's just,
justice for Anne.
Yeah.
Anne Supremacy 2026.
And it's just interesting as much as we keep having this conversation, it's still like the worst thing a woman can do in Hollywood is be like too in your face and too in your face in terms of like be everywhere and having to promote a movie.
Successful.
Also walking that fine line between like having to be like a little bit self-deprecating but also like sometimes very earnest, and it's like everyone's watching you walk this tightrope of like, and if you put a foot too far the other way, then you have to go. And other actresses have said before, like the same thing happened to Jennifer Lawrence. Like, do you remember that when she was everywhere and she won her Oscar? It's always when a woman wins an Oscar.
Whenever they're successful, people just want to like really narrow in on things. And I think that's what makes it hard. Again, just going back to the fact that Anne is just working. She's doing a good job. She's booking great roles. Why would she turn them down?
Yeah.
She's got her biggest year ahead of her. There is absolutely no reason to hate someone based on those things.
No, it's just, and that thing is like when you ask people, because people have, just because I've written a lot about this in the past, like I wrote a big piece about the Hatha-hate when it first was starting and being like, we need to stop this and here's all the reasons why. And that piece still bops up on search a lot whenever she's in a movie of people being like,
big year for you then.
Yeah, guys, reread it. I wrote that piece like 8 years ago, and every word is still correct.
Yeah, okay,
of what people have said. But and whenever she's in a movie or like when I've interviewed her, like the first people say like, oh, what was she really like? And I was like, she was lovely.
She's amazing. In
a way that no one's ever asked me in that tone about any other actress I've interviewed. And I've interviewed some mean actresses in my day, let me tell you. And no one cares about that. But I just think it was interesting of like how like women come to this moment in Hollywood, like a Jennifer Lawrence, like an Anne Hathaway, where they surge to popularity. And then we decide that they've had too much time in the sun, or they're too quirky, or they're too earnest. And then they have to go and like hide away.
Oh, I don't want her
and
to
then they decide to come back again.
Yeah, they've got to bide their time.
Yeah. So go see Devil Wears Prada 2. Go see all of Anne Hathaway's movies, I guess. And I just hope this conversation peters out now.